Democracies are fragile. They fail when people stop believing in their common destiny. Why is this happening? There are many reasons for today's division. The one seldom mentioned is economic.
The traditional route to wealth and success has been cut off for many Americans.
Capitalism has become an insider's club. Giant multinational corporations under both parties are killing the American dream.
This was supposed to be the land of opportunity.
The middle class is shrinking and weakening economically.
Where is the dignity in realizing that they're about a payment away from being evicted?
A look at the new documentary, America's Burning. The film examines the connection between the United States economy and the future of democracy, arguing a system of capitalism run amok is partly to blame for our widening political divisions. And joining us now is the executive producer and narrator, as you heard of that documentary, the Academy Award-winning actor Michael Douglas, and director and writer of the project, David Smick. Gentlemen, good morning to you both. Good to have you here.
Good morning,
Michael,
Lee.
it's lost on no one that the man who won an Academy Award for saying greed is good is narrating this critique of capitalism. So what brought you to this project?
I guess a number of years of just watching how politically things were getting more and more divisive, more vitriolic, and it's long before these present persons in our running for office. And then David Smick was kind enough to introduce me to his project that he was writing, and I thought this was a very interesting point, really crucial about how economics is playing such an important role, was not talked about enough. And I was very, very happy to do it, proud to do it.
So, David, where do you trace the beginnings of things beginning to run amok, as you put it, which is to say the game being rigged in many ways for the wealthy, rigged in many ways for the haves, and not lifting up everyone with it?
Part of this is personal. I grew up in Baltimore, blue-collar, Baltimore, as we call it, a blue-collar neighborhood. My next door neighbor drove a cement truck, and my best friend's father was a plumber, and he's a plumber. And so I've lived in two worlds. I grew up in that world, and yet I've set up a company as a financial advisor to some of the best traders in the world. George Soros was my first client. So I'm living in this two world, and it just dawned on me that we've had this extraordinary period of wealth creation, 40 years, which is the envy of the world. And yet only half the country has been able to participate, the half that owns stocks, because the wealth has been distributed via the equity markets. And so if you're a wage earner, you barely kept up. And I'll give you two figures and then stop. But we were just talking about it. If you look at the stock market, the Dow, from 1980 to the present, 3,800% increase. We should be proud of the rest of the world is envious. They wish they had that. The only problem is if you look at wages, real wages, according to the St. Louis Fed, you're talking about a total of 16%. So I can't get that out of my mind. We're giving all these explanations for why we're divided as a country, and very few people talk about economics. And the difference with me is I don't think there's an alternative to capitalism. This is not, Bernie Sanders went that direction. We have to fix capitalism. We have to invite half of the country to have a ticket to the party.
You know, Michael, listening to David and his roots, I come from a long line of plumbers. But we somehow seem to run away from the class distinctions in this country created by the wealth gap. I mean, there's a specific group of people and families in America who carry the load in Iraq and Afghanistan fighting for America. There's a specific group of people in this country who got absolutely crushed in 2008 by the collapse of the economy and are still on their knees trying to get back up on their feet. Do we know, do you think, do we know who we are as a country, as a people?
Well, we know how important the middle class is. I did a series a while ago playing Ben Franklin and discovered really that Ben Franklin was sort of the founder of the middle class in this world. And we have lost it. it's decreasing, and it's not rising up. It's going down. Middle class used to be something you were proud about. You could afford your kids going to school, you had a living, you take a holiday and a vacation, and now the middle class is struggling paycheck to paycheck. So I think that's the issue that David's speaking about, and we just have to increase those hourly wages to a degree, and you keep looking at these. I mean, I remember in my lifetime the first time somebody was a billionaire. Now you've got a contingent of groups that own over $100 billion. I mean, these are numbers that are just staggering, and I think we should really have to address it because it's getting out of whack.
David, this actually is an optimistic film. People should understand that. Let's watch a clip where you hear people who still believe in this dream and about America's future.
Look, and this is the Pollyanna in me, people are fundamentally good. People hurt for each other. America is a good example. There's no country on this earth more philanthropic than America.
They believe in the American people. We all have our politics, we all have our hates and our fears, but deep down, there is a love of country that I think prevails.
Every time I hear that the American dream is fading, I look at the Latino community, we're making progress, maybe not as fast as we want, maybe not as good as we want, but we're making progress.
So you say, David, we can do it again. We can save the middle class.
You know, Larry Summers is in the film, and he makes a very persuasive argument that we have a history of resilience. I mean, we botched civil rights. We came back. We have a history of resilience in so many areas, and we can do it again if we. But you know what bothers me right now is we are so fixated on the current situation. So we have this. We have these two candidates, but we have these issues. Let's call them X, Y, and Z. Well, on January 20th, one of these guys is going to win, and we're still going to have X, Y, and Z there. We're not digging deep. We're not looking at the root causes of how we got into this mess, why we hate each other so much. And so this film is an attempt to, you know, you can either dig deep or a 30,000-foot observation. But that's kind of where the reason that for this, to get us to think long term about what kind of America we want.
I do love, though, Michael, that David, you say this film is really for the 80% of Americans who don't hate each other, who aren't screaming on TV, on social media. We are the country that Ken Langone's describing there. We are the country that Leon Panetta describes. Has that been your experience in this country that has given you the life you've had?
It's been extraordinary, but I'm at a point now, for instance, my brother is on the other side of the ticket. We don't talk to each other hardly anymore. The divisiveness has become ridiculous. And it's really an issue of party before country. And I would really hope with this lead up that we will find those things that bring us more together and solve this economic question, because I think that'll ease up a lot of the pressure.
Amen to that. The new documentary is called America's Burning. It opens in select theaters nationwide on Friday. You can also visit americasburningfilm.com for locations where you can see it. Executive producer, narrator Michael Douglas, director and writer David Smick. Thank you both, and congratulations on the film. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn. MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.